I'm not sure why I'm writing this. Maybe because I haven't slept more than 2 hours a night in weeks. Maybe because saying it out loud, well, typing it, feels safer than trying to tell anyone who actually knows me. My name doesn't matter. Call me Adam. My wife, ex-wife technically, is Erin. We have one son, Ben. He's 9. For years, everyone called Erin the perfect mom. PTA president, volunteer at the hospital, birthday party genius. She was the type who'd stay up till 3 a.m. sewing dinosaur costumes for the school play and still show up with cupcakes in the morning. I used to joke she had more energy than physics allowed. And maybe that was the first red flag. How much she needed to be needed. I just didn't see it then. Ben was born a month early. Small, but healthy. Around age 4, he started having these strange spells. Breathing fast, chest tight, dizzy. Erin would panic, grab the emergency inhaler, call me at work, sometimes even drive him straight to urgent care. Doctors said it looked like asthma. They gave us steroids, inhalers, an action plan. For a while, everything fit the pattern. Then the pattern got weird. We'd end up in the ER, and every time, his oxygen levels would be low when they checked him in, but normal within half an hour. It never made sense. One nurse finally said, "Kids sometimes fake symptoms for attention." Erin got furious. "Are you saying my son is lying?" That night, she cried herself to sleep. I felt guilty for even wondering if the nurse was right. Ben hated hospitals. He'd hide under his blanket when it was time to go. He told me once, quietly, "I don't like when Mom gets scared." I thought he meant he didn't like worrying her. Now I think he meant something else. The first real crack came one afternoon when I got home early. Erin didn't know I was there. She was in the kitchen measuring something into Ben's juice. A tiny packet, white powder. I asked what it was. She flinched like I'd shot her. "It's just his vitamin supplement," she said quickly. She showed me the label, magnesium something. I remember laughing, embarrassed. "Jesus, you scared me," I said. She smiled too hard. "You should trust me more, Adam." And I did. For another year. Fast forward to this spring. Ben collapsed at school. Not breathing right. Ambulance, chaos, adrenaline. By the time I reached the hospital, he was fine again. Heart rate normal, lungs clear. The doctor said, "We can't find anything wrong. Maybe anxiety?" That night, while Erin showered, I went through the kitchen cabinets looking for that vitamin packet. It wasn't there. None of the bottles I recognized were. New ones had appeared. Different labels, all neatly organized. I Googled the brand names. Half didn't exist. My stomach turned to ice. I waited till she was asleep and took photos of every label. The next morning, while she dropped Ben at school, I drove to a pharmacist friend. She looked at the photos, frowned, and said, "Adam, these are compounded meds. Someone's mixing them by hand. You need to know what's in them." She sent one off for testing. 3 days later, she called me at work. "There's diphenhydramine in that powder. Basically Benadryl, but at 4 times the normal dose for a child." She paused. "If he took that daily, it could suppress breathing, cause drowsiness, confusion. It could mimic asthma." I nearly dropped the phone. I didn't confront Erin right then. I didn't. I told myself there had to be some explanation. Maybe she'd made a mistake. Maybe the pharmacist was wrong. Anything was better than believing the woman I loved was hurting our son. That weekend, Ben had another episode. Erin screamed for me to grab the inhaler. I watched her hands shake while she held the spacer to his mouth. He looked terrified. Of her, not of the attack. That's when I knew. I set up a small camera in the kitchen. hidden in the vent above the sink. I told myself it was to protect everyone, to understand, not accuse. But part of me already knew what I was going to see. 2 mornings later, I watched her pour orange juice, pull a tiny unmarked bottle from her pocket, and add 3 drops. Then she stirred it with a spoon, smiled, and called, "Breakfast, sweetheart." My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I didn't scream or storm in. I couldn't. Then drank half the juice before I could think. I told him we were going out for a walk and carried him to the car. Aaron waved from the doorway like nothing had happened. At the hospital, I showed the doctor the video. He didn't even let me finish explaining before calling security and the police. They tested Ben's blood. He had high levels of sedatives, nothing lethal, thank God, but enough to slow his breathing. When the police came for Aaron that night, she didn't fight. She just stared at me like I was the one who had betrayed her. She said, "Adam, you don't understand. He needs me." That sentence still echoes in my head. Ben's okay now. Physically, at least. He's living with my sister while I deal with the court stuff and therapy and everything else. He asks about his mom sometimes, then changes the subject. He's scared of orange juice. Aaron's lawyers say it was a psychological condition, something about needing control, feeling useful. I don't care what name they give it. She almost destroyed him. The hardest part, sometimes late at night, I still scroll through old photos. Her smiling with him at the park, at the zoo, birthdays. You can't look at those pictures and see a monster. You just see a mom who loved too much in the wrong way. And that's what messes me up most. How love, twisted even slightly, can become poison. The night after they took Aaron away, the house was too quiet. It's strange how silence can feel heavy. Every sound became suspicious. The hum of the fridge, the ticking clock, the faint traffic outside. I sat in Ben's room for hours, just staring at his empty bed. His blue dinosaur blanket was crumpled in the corner, like he had just kicked it off. There were stickers on the wall, drawings taped up with pride, rockets, monsters, a crooked family portrait, the version of us that existed before everything cracked. I kept expecting him to run in, barefoot, asking for water or another bedtime story, but he didn't. He was at my sister's house, safe. Safe, a word that felt foreign now. The detective called me the next morning. Her voice was calm, practiced. She said Aaron was in a psychiatric evaluation unit, not a regular jail cell. They wanted to determine if she understood what she'd done. I remember whispering, she knew. She had to. The detective hesitated. Maybe, but sometimes people convince themselves of things to survive what's inside them. That sentence has been playing on repeat in my head ever since. A week later, I was allowed to see Ben for an afternoon. He ran into my arms, lighter than I remembered, his hair longer, his eyes older. He didn't talk much at first. Kids have this way of reading your emotions even when you try to hide them. We went to the park. He climbed the slide twice, then sat beside me on the bench. "Dad," he said quietly, "is Mom sick?" I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. My throat locked up. He waited, patient, like he always was. "I think she is," I finally said, "but we're going to make sure you're okay. Okay?" He nodded. Then, after a long pause, "I still love her." It was the hardest thing I'd ever heard, because I did too, in some twisted, unrecognizable way. The next few months blurred together. Therapy sessions, lawyers, evaluations, child services visits. Every professional used words like trauma, dependency, attachment disorder. They all said the same thing in different languages. This will take time. But I wasn't patient. I wanted answers. I wanted to know how the woman who once made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs could turn into someone who quietly hurt the person she loved most. The therapist told me, "You can't make sense of someone's sickness by logic. You can only make sense of your response to it." So I started writing things down. The small moments, her laughter, the nights we stayed up watching terrible reality shows, the way she'd cry whenever Ben had a fever. I needed to remember her as a whole person, not just the ending. Sometimes I'd reread those notes and hate.
It's been almost 3 years since the court hearing. You'd think time would smooth the edges, but grief doesn't work like that. It just changes texture. The sharp pain turns into a dull hum that follows you around the house. Ben and I have our rituals now. Saturday morning pancakes, evening walks with the dog we adopted last spring. He named her Clover because he said we both needed more luck. He doesn't talk about his mom often. When he does, it's in fragments. Remember when she used to make that spaghetti with the funny sauce? Or, do you think she still likes blue? I always answer softly, like the words might shatter if I'm too loud. She probably does, buddy. Some days he laughs easily. Other days he goes quiet for hours. The therapists tell me that's normal, that kids test safety by silence. I nod, pretend to understand, but I still check on him at night, just to make sure he's breathing evenly. Last autumn, I found an old notebook while cleaning the attic. It was Aaron's. Pages full of lists, groceries, meal plans, reminders to call teachers, but also entries that read more like prayers than notes. Ben was calm today. Don't mess this up again. Keep him safe. Keep him safe. Keep him safe. I sat on the floor until it got dark, reading her handwriting over and over. There was so much fear woven into her care. For the first time, I felt something close to pity. Not forgiveness, not yet. Just the beginning of understanding that she'd been drowning in her own mind and I'd never learned to see it. Sometimes, I wonder what she's doing now. The last update I got was that she was in a long-term treatment program upstate, that she was stable, that she'd asked about Ben. I never told him, not because I want to erase her, but because he's still building the scaffolding of who he wants to be, and I don't want guilt to be one of the bricks. Still, every birthday a small card arrives in the mail. No return address. Just, love, Mom. He reads them in silence, then tucks them into a shoebox under his bed. When I asked if he wanted me to keep them somewhere safer, he said, "They're safe with me." And maybe he's right. I've started running again. At first it was just to burn the restlessness out of my legs, but now it's become a kind of meditation. Early mornings, before sunrise, when the streets are empty and the air still smells like rain. That's when I think about the life I used to have, the one I have now, and the one I'm still trying to build. There's a woman from Ben's school, a teacher, who sometimes joins me for coffee after the runs. Nothing dramatic, no fireworks, just quiet conversation, easy laughter. It feels strange to want softness again, to think maybe I could love someone without fear hidden under it. I haven't told Ben yet. I will when it matters. Sometimes, I still log into that old Reddit account, the one I made back when everything fell apart. I scroll through messages from strangers who said the story helped them leave toxic relationships, notice warning signs, trust their instincts. It's a strange comfort knowing that something so painful could still make ripples that help someone else stumbling through their own dark. Maybe that's the closest thing to closure I'll get. The idea that the worst thing that happened to us might have turned into light for someone else stumbling through their own dark. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that healing isn't a straight line. It's messy, repetitive, exhausting. Some mornings you wake up and breathe without thinking. Other mornings, you're back in that kitchen, watching someone stir juice, wondering how you missed it. But then your son laughs in the next room. The dog barks, coffee brews, and life somehow goes on. 5 years later, and the house feels different. Not quieter, exactly. Ben's 16 now, and the place hums with the low chaos of adolescence. But it's steadier. The walls don't hold secrets anymore, just the ordinary noise of two people trying their best to live a normal life. I came home last month to find him sitting at the kitchen table, the old shoebox of letters open in front of him. He looked older somehow, not just taller, but steadier, in a way that scared me a little. "She's getting out next year," he said. He didn't look up, just kept folding and refolding one of the cards between his fingers. I looked it up online. Early release for good behavior. I didn't know what to say. Every version of this moment had lived in my head for years, and still the real thing hit like cold water. "What are you thinking?" I finally asked. He shrugged. "I don't know. I want to see her. Once?" We met with Autumn, his old therapist, 2 days later. She's older now too, softer around the edges. She talked to Ben alone for a while, then brought me in. She said, "He doesn't want closure. He wants context. He's not angry, he's curious. That's a good sign, Adam. It means he's ready." Ready. That word terrified me more than any courtroom ever did. Still, we made arrangements. The prison counselor said Aaron had been asking about him for years, sending letters that were never forwarded. She agreed to a supervised visit, no contact beyond conversation. Ben spent the next week rehearsing what to say. I didn't. I just tried to breathe. The visiting room was smaller than I'd imagined, sterile and cold, like the idea of forgiveness had to pass through metal detectors. When Erin walked in, I barely recognized her. Her hair was longer, streaked with gray, her face thinner, older, but her eyes, those were the same. They darted first to me, then to Ben, and then she froze. "Hi," Ben said softly. His voice cracked on it. "Hi," she whispered back. They sat across from each other, a plexiglass wall between them, 2 phones on the table. She lifted hers first. "You've grown so much," she said. "I guess that happens," he replied, trying to sound casual but failing. I read your letters?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I hoped you would." They talked for 15 minutes, about school, about his drawings, about the dog. Nothing heavy, nothing sharp, just 2 people testing the water of memory without drowning in it. Then Ben said, "Mom, why?" Not accusing, not angry, just a boy who would live too long without an answer. Erin pressed her hand to the glass. "I thought I could save you. I thought if I could control your sickness, I could control the fear. And when people started to care, it felt like being seen again. I didn't know how to stop." Her words came out slow, cracked at the edges. Ben didn't cry, he just listened. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I don't think I can forgive you, but I don't hate you anymore." And that was it. The most honest sentence I'd ever heard. On the drive home, he stared out the window, headphones in, quiet. Halfway back, he said, "She's not a monster, Dad. She's sick. You know that, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, I know." He smiled faintly. "Good, because I don't want to spend my life hating half of where I came from." That night after he went to bed, I sat on the porch until sunrise. The world felt heavier and lighter all at once. Maybe that's what healing actually is, not erasing what happened, but learning how to carry it without letting it crush you. These days, we don't talk about Erin much. Sometimes her name comes up like weather, mentioned, not lingered on. Ben's applying to art schools now. He was to study illustration. He told me last week he wants to draw stories that feel real, Ones that hurt a little but still end with hope. And maybe that's the best we can do. With stories, with life, with each other. Make something honest out of the ruins. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I see him as he was back then. Small, fragile, clutching my hand in that hospital room. Then I see him now, tall, laughing, strong, and I realize we made it out. Not untouched, but alive. And maybe, after everything, that's enough.
It's been almost 10 years since I first posted here. Back then, I was writing from the edge of something raw and unbelievable. Shaking hands, sleepless nights, trying to put words to a life that no longer made sense. I didn't expect anyone to care. I just needed to get it out before it ate me alive. But you did care. Thousands of strangers, people from places I'll never visit with names I'll never know, wrote back. You sent advice, empathy, even prayers. Some told me about their own parents, their own invisible battles. Others just said, I believe you. You have no idea how much that mattered. That post saved me, in a way. It gave me something to hold on to when everything else felt like quicksand. And over the years, I've kept reading messages from people who found it later, people who said it helped them recognize patterns, leave abusers, or just realize they weren't crazy for doubting the people they loved. It's strange, knowing the worst thing that ever happened to you became something like a lighthouse for others. Pain turned into warning, trauma turned into testimony. Ben's 21 now. He just moved into his own apartment. There's paint on his jeans, a guitar in the corner, and a drawing of Clover, our dog, framed on his wall. He's everything I prayed he'd be. Kind, funny, empathetic in ways that scare me because he feels everything so deeply. He still visits his mom twice a year. The first few times he asked if I wanted to come and I said no. Now he doesn't ask, but he tells me when he's going. That's our balance. He says she's stable, that she teaches art therapy to other patients in her facility. He says she smiles when he tells him about his projects. He says she never makes excuses anymore. Just tries to listen. I don't know what that means for them, but I'm glad they found something resembling peace. I still get moments, flashes, where the past sneaks up on me. A hospital smell, a child's cough, a bowl of cereal left half-eaten on the counter. Those are the ghosts I've learned to live with. Therapy helped. So did running, writing, and learning to let silence be safe again. There's someone new in my life. Her name's Laura. She teaches at a community college, and she's the kind of person who hums while folding laundry. When she first came over, she noticed the photo of Ben and Clover on the fridge and said, "You two look like a team." And we are. A team that survived the kind of story most people would never believe, unless they'd lived through it themselves. Anyway, that's where I'll leave it. Not as a victim, not even as a survivor, just as a man who learned that the human heart can outlast almost anything. Thanks for listening. Back then and now. You didn't just read a story. You helped someone find a way back to life. Adam.
If this story moved you and stayed with you, don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and share it with someone who'd feel it too. The more people who see it, the more voices we give to stories that deserve to be remembered.